Hello students, today's agenda is to check your homework. We'll be working on systems in word problems and you will be able to do 5.13. Today students will be able to set up a system of equations and find a solution in word problems. So, this is what the first word problem says, and you have done some practice on setting up equations from the first lesson in this unit. But we'll go ahead and do the setup, and then now we will be able to solve it since we have learned three different methods of solving them, either by graphing, elimination, or substitution, whichever is more convenient. Okay, so it says you have 10 coins in quarters and dimes. You have $2.20. And as you, I don't know if you recall, but instead of working with dollars and cents, we're just gonna talk about cents all together. Okay, so it says that my quarters plus my dimes, my quarters plus my dimes are a total of 10 coins. Okay, and some people get confused with C and they want to put 10C. Don't. It just means that I have a total of 10 quarters and dimes together. Okay, so my quarters plus my dimes is equals a total of 10. Then I'm gonna give the value of each coin. So quarters are 25 cents. So I'm gonna multiply my number of quarters times the value of the quarters plus 10, because that's the value of dimes, times my number of dimes is equals to, now notice that in here I'm not putting 0.25 to represent the 25 cents. So I'm not gonna put the decimal here either. So I'm just gonna write 220 cents. Okay? So those will be my two equations. So I noticed that both of my variables are on this side of the equal sign, so it would be easier to use elimination method. So I'm gonna multiply the first equation by, I think I'm gonna cancel my dimes. So I'm gonna use -10. And so I'm gonna multiply by every single term. And you can, if you want to cancel the the 25 by multiplying by -25, that's also fine, but you're gonna end up with a negative number. In the process, okay? Not as a solution. Okay, so I multiply by -10, so it's gonna be -10q. -10 times d is -10d. -10 times 10 is equals to -100. The second equation, I'm just gonna keep the way it is. Just bring it down. And so now that I have opposite coefficients for the dimes, I'm able to add my two equations. And so when I add -10q and 25q is 15q. -10d and +10d eliminates, which is the purpose of elimination method, right? To get rid of one of the two variables. And -100 plus 220 is 120. If we're multiplying, the opposite is to divide. And so q is equals to 8. That means that I have 8 quarters. I already know how many quarters I have. Now I have to figure out how many dimes I have. And so I'm going to use any of the two equations, but this one looks easier. So my quarters plus my dimes is equals to 10. But I already know the value of q, which is the number of quarters. But I don't know the number of dimes. But I know that together they're equals to 10. If I subtract the number of quarters, then I find out that my dimes are 2. Okay, so what do I have? I have 8 quarters and I have 2 dimes. Are they equals to 10 coins? Yes. Do I have a total of $2.20? Well, in 4 quarters I have $1, so 8 quarters is $2. 2 dimes is 20 cents, so the $2.20. There you go. It matches both of my equations. Okay, let's go to another one. It says you have 7 more pennies than nickels. And so that's a little tricky to interpret or write as an equation, so be careful when you have that. And then it says you have 25 cents. How many of each do you have? Okay, so what do we have more of? Well, 7 more pennies than nickels. So my pennies is equals to the number of nickels that I have plus 7 more. Okay, the pennies are equal, if you put it in a balance, are equal to the number of nickels plus 7 more, because I have to add a number to the nickels to know how many pennies I have. Okay, some people read it as 7 more than the nickels. Okay, my pennies are equal to 7 more than the nickels I have. For the next equation, it says that I have a total of 25 cents. And I know that I have pennies and nickels. All I have to do is add the value of each coin. So pennies are worth 1 cent. Nickels are worth 5 cents. And together I have a total of 25 cents. Okay. So as we learned before, when one of the variables is isolated, we can just replace the value which is, in this case, pennies are equal to n plus 7. I can replace or substitute, take out the p, replace that, or substitute the value of p in here. And so you can think of the 1 as non-existent, because remember that coefficients 1, we don't even need to write it. I just wrote it right now for the purpose of knowing that pennies are worth 1 cent. But in reality, coefficients that are 1, like in here, I don't have a 1. In here, I don't have a 1. Okay? So I replace my p with the value of p, which is n plus 7. Bring down the 5n, and it's equals to 25. And if you need to kind of go back to the substitution method, you can go ahead and look at some of the previous videos. Okay, I combine like terms, and so n and 5n is 6n plus 7 equals 25. I start canceling, so I cancel by subtracting 7, and so 6n is equals to 18. I divide both sides by 6, and so n is equals to 3. That means that I have 3 nickels. Now I can figure out how many pennies I have by substituting the value that I found for n. So my pennies are the number of nickels plus 7. The number of nickels is 3 plus 7. That's a total of 10 pennies. Now let's see if it matches with the information we have. It says you have 7 more pennies than nickels. I have 3 nickels and I have 10 pennies. It makes sense. I have 7 more pennies than the nickels I have. You have 25 cents. This is a total of 15 cents. This is a total of 10 cents. Together makes the 25 cents. So yeah, it matches, and therefore we are correct. Okay, so for the next one, says you have 3 coins in nickels and pennies. So my nickels plus my pennies is equal to 3. And it says you have 19 cents. It says 0.19 because they have the dollar sign. I'm just going to use cents. So nickels are worth 5. Pennies are worth 1. I'm not going to put the 1, but you know that there is a 1 in there. Equals 19. I think I'm going to eliminate. Both variables are on this side of the equal sign, so it's easier to use the elimination method, but there is nothing set up to be canceled, so I'm going to multiply by -1. And so it's going to be -1n. Oh, I already put the -1. It's okay. Positive p times -1 is negative p. -1 times 3 is -3. This one I'm just going to bring it down, so it's going to be 5n plus p is equals to 19. So when I add them, I'm ready to eliminate this, and so I have 4n equals 16, and I divide both sides by 4, and so my n is equals to 4. So that means that I have 4 nickels. Now if you see this, it says that I have 3 coins. How can I have 4 nickels if I have 3 coins only? That already doesn't make sense, but we'll see. Then I've used one of my 2 equations, so n, but I'm going to replace it by 4, plus p is equals to 3. So I subtract 4 from both sides, and so my pennies are -1. Now, question, can we have negative coins? No, we can have debt in the bank, but we cannot have negative coins, negative pennies in this case. Okay, so in that case, we say that there are some restraints. -1 pennies and 4 nickels make no sense, so there is not such thing. Okay, so there are some strange cases like that where the answer will not make sense. I don't think you will have something like this, but I just needed to let you know. Okay, so these are some examples for this lesson. So now you are able to work on 5.13, and